Here we are, a bonus video. I felt like making this one for a little while, and I thought I'd do it on camera rather than voiceover, so hello, I have a face. Half of it's hidden, but I have a face. Memberships and all of my links are down below as always. My predictions, theories, leaks and info for Season 2 seems to grow. I did a prediction for Season 2 video, where I will say that I feel like I want to kind of back up some of that, but the leaks, rumours and other mill stuff has been quite fascinating to witness. So that's where we need to get into. So first things first, rumour. The main showrunners are being quietly yeeted. Rumour. Amazon Production and Studios are not happy with The Rings of Power or its reaction. Rumour. They have already shot key scenes and sequences for Season 2 during the production of Season 1 in New Zealand. Rumour. New cast members and some dramatic retooling. So I don't know how they're going to retool the series because they've already complicated this series to no end. Season 1 presents a really bizarre take on the Second Age, shoehorning Galadriel into a story that predominantly isn't her, and the Second Age was the story of the elf. She was part there, she was involved in some key stuff, but it really isn't her story. And the fact that Amazon don't present many rights to anything is also interesting. They also keep quoting and using the Peter Jackson movies as a base, which is somewhat concerning, and I love the Peter Jackson movies, but they seem to be taking quotes and lines from that are more Peter Jackson-ish, taken from other Tolkien sources, and rolling with them and taking them very literally. For example, there's countless ones that I will be here for 4 hours talking about. Galadriel being responsible for the rings, for example, is not a thing. She was not responsible for the creation of the elven rings. And it gets even more complicated from that point on, and this weird romance and oddly fetishized Twitter community around her and Sauron is bizarre and, by the way, somewhat gross. Like, I have seen tweets and erotic art which has made me wince with horror. It gets really complicated here because with the rumour of the yeeting of the showrunners who are still insulting the fans and don't give a crap about our feelings or opinions or feedback from anyone that actually knows what they're talking about, the links to Bad Robot and J.J. Abrams, which is a man I cannot stand, who is the franchise killer. Hello, Star Wars and Star Trek. To other rumours that with the key scenes from Season 2 already shot, and also rumours that the New Zealand government is not particularly happy with Amazon, I do think this is going to be more of the same. I don't think they're going to kind of do this more lore-accurate series now, for the simple reason that they can't... I don't know how they can bring it back. I look at the series and I look at how they've paced it and how it's written and the characterization, to the point that Season 1 fundamentally changes the history of Middle-earth, to a point that the Lord of the Rings can't happen, and the removal of Galadriel's husband as well is also fascinating. He's either dead or missing or whatever. But the problem is, his story and her story are extremely intertwined. And that's a whole thing. And for my naysayers, from the get-go, the second... I love doing that because I know it annoys someone in my comments who still leaves comments. From the start, the second Christopher Tolkien died and the second Tom Shippey was fired because he wouldn't say yes, it really does tell me everything. The second I saw Tom Shippey's name go, I was concerned. And I think we all were rightfully correct. With the sort of turnaround of footage and how they're going to do this, I don't think they're going to do anything new. I think they're going to double down what they've already done. Somehow Galadriel will be responsible for the creation of the Rings of Men. Somehow she might even be responsible for the creation of One Ring. Shoehorning in a character, although she is one of the strongest and most important characters within Tolkien's work, she isn't there for every story, and that's the mishap they've done. Who remembers the slow-motion riding horse on the beach scene? I mean, it was up there with She-Hulk twerking. I mean, it was cringeworthy. They've taken phrases and keynotes and ran with them in a very literal term, and I think that's what they're going to do now. We have a clear timeline of events. We have a clear creation of Middle-earth. We can go all the way back, and I feel like if they wanted to do the socio-political fantasy of Game of Thrones, which they really did want to capitalise on, they should have focused on Numenor, They could have just done a story of the fall of Numenor, and it's going to be interesting now with the new Tolkien book, which will present all of Tolkien's work on the fall of Numenor in a cohesive one volume, which will be fantastic. Yes, I pre-ordered it. And it will be interesting seeing people's reaction to it, because it will present the fall of Numenor and a big chunk of the Second Age as it should be, not how it's being presented in this show. And that's ultimately the problem. I said this from the very start. This show could be the best thing since sliced bread. It could have been amazing. But the second you went away from what fundamentally makes Tolkien Tolkien, the fans will disown you. This is the big difference between Tolkien fans and other people, is that Tolkien fans tend to come from a far more educated base. They tend to be college professors. They tend to be literature people. And yes, there are the laymen, there are the casuals, and that's great, by the way. I'm not insulting anyone who's only seen the Peter Jackson movies at all, because you know what? They're epic, and if that's all you've seen, good for you. They are amazing, and they're part of the reason I love Lord of the Rings. So that's my opinion. But even people, the people that aren't hardcore fans or Tolkien fans, are turning off from this show. And I feel like they're not going to do it, but they've never quite appealed to an audience. They're trying to be dark and epic, then it becomes light and fluffy. It's never felt cohesive. It feels like different scenes directed by different directors, chopped together, with no interlinction and no sense of distance, time, travel, or anything in this show. It's just, they get there, it happens. Then they cut to somewhere else, it happens. No build up, no payoff. And this is going to carry on with how the season 2 is going to roll, I think. And I think that's what they're going to do. I think they're just going to double down on what they already did. But I will say, if the showrunners go, that might be a saving grace. And I say that with a massive pinch of salt, because those two idiots are clueless. And I feel like they need to get people on board. But I think it's too late. This show has not become the cultural phenomenon. No one's talking about it at the water fountain. No one's giving a flying about this show, because it ultimately alienated its core audience. It alienated the people that have spent decades reading his works, that love the Peter Jackson movies. It's alienated its main viewership. And ultimately, this show exists as a shameless cash-in. And I'm glad that I don't think, even if Amazon had had the rights to the Silmarillion and all of this, I don't think it would have been a good show, for the simple reason they're too concerned with their own personal politics and representing modernity than representing Tolkien's work. And that's ultimately one of its biggest failures. I think season 2 will double down on that. I think they're going to do some very cringeworthy things, and I think it's going to be like watching a car crash in slow motion. So tell me what you think in the comments below, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.